Yo, what is up guys? So I got something pretty cool to share with you. It's a new build of windups using the link stuff. This guy, I don't know what he's playing. It's pretty much irrelevant. But what is relevant is playing 6 copies of Grand or Golem in your deck, because this card completely balanced, especially with the new wind up link monster that just got announced. People are already figuring out combos. Like I said, it's irrelevant what this guy's playing, but unless he had some back row here, and this could be like a good turn 1 play, which you guys will see in just a second, because this time we are going second. I would say windups is still definitely a deck that you would prefer to go first, and just because, you know, you can just go off. And we're going to be seeing Skull Deep time and time after we get that free extra advantage of being able to just cycle through your deck, special summon a monster. You get to boost up all of your monsters. The guy ends up rage quitting, but like I don't really blame him. So he's going to go ahead and be able to get rid of a card. So the wind-up card is actually really good. It lets you just, as soon as it's linked summon, just gonna add a wind-up card, just any wind-up card. And then we're going to go ahead and summon wind-up Shark. And we're going to go ahead and Rat, get out Hunter. Hunter can then get rid of another card out of your opponent's hand. I think like consistently it's going to be like 2 cards out of your opponent's hand. I mean, in this instance, you got rid of another one over there. Completely balanced, man. Wind-ups, are they back, boys? I never was a fan of playing against this deck. One of the most annoying things ever, and he's going to go ahead and get out some free extra monsters. And he wasn't even done with his play. His opponent was like, dude, I'm done, alright? He was going to get Trigate Wizard after that. And at that point, there was really little that he could have done. But there's another replay over here. Now, this one he's actually going to be able to go first. But there's another pretty cool card in here, Magical Contract Door. It's just basically to get Grand Golem turn 1. Also, Zombie World can stop other decks because it can completely destroy decks that like require you to have like spellcasters or, you know, whatever the case may be. Like, and on top of that, they can't tribute summon in the off chance you play against a deck that needs to tribute summon, except for zombie type monsters. So we're seeing the Firewall Dragon as a link of 4. Works pretty well with the Extra Magician being able to reveal the cards. But we're going to see Skull Deep just getting some free extra advantage once again, cycling through the deck. Interesting mix-up, and I'll give you guys deck profile in a second. But we're going to see Wind Up Rat, going to go ahead and get the Magician. Shark going to go ahead and increase the level. We're going to go ahead and see the Wind Up Hunter. He's going to go ahead and start hunting some cards over there, getting rid of one of his opponent's cards. Then we see the Wind Up Maintenance Azneyesreplays over here. Just the new Link monster. He's going to go ahead and change the level. Wind Up Hunter coming back, going to get rid of another card out of your opponent's hand. I'm wondering if you can actually figure out a loop to get rid of your entire opponent's hand. Soul Charge over here, a little bit of like an overkill, because at this point, like, when you end up going for like double of these, and you've already taken 2 cards out of your opponent's hand, like, you're cycling through more than half of your deck turn 1. We see, again, the Wind Up Hunter. He could have, of course, gotten rid of some more cards, but I really think it would have been more effective to have if he would have placed it in another zone. Now, one thing that's interesting with this is he left the other zone here, so if he only had another card right here, he could probably have made it so he would get those effects of like being able to negate whatever he wants to do. But your opponent is such at a huge disadvantage, especially if you've taken away like so many cards out of their hand. He ends up making a Purgatrio over here, but unfortunately I think it's just too late in the game, and he lost out basically to just too many cards being taken out of his hand. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to do too much with this. He's got Spellbook of Life, so he has to banish a spellcaster type monster, but they're all zombies. Again, this is more of an obscure card, but it was used because of Mizuki. He's basically running, well, I'll give you guys the deck profile. So thanks, Teraraki, for showcasing off this really unique build of windups, and I'm going to give you guys the deck profile for this, and it's just basically showing you guys that you can technically use the Azneyesreplays and kind of get some cards out of your opponent's hand. I'm not sure if the whole goal of this build was simply just to potentially try to loop your opponent, because you use Zombie World, everything becomes zombies. There for Mizuki, you can get a lot of great targets. Also, we're seeing multiple copies of Charge Upgrade. It's just to get your cards into the graveyard, and then also on top of that, you have access to, again, 6 copies of Grand or Golem in the deck. We have Magical Contract Door. So you add 1 spell card from your hand to your opponent's hand, and then you add 1 level 7 or 8 Dark Monster from your deck to your hand, which is going to, of course, be Grand or Golem, because it's basically going to set up your deck for this. And running, you know, 3 copies of Soul Recharge, 3 copies of Hand Destruction, it's pretty common to actually pull it off. And on top of you giving your opponent a card, you just give them a card that's completely irrelevant. Obviously, if you give them hand destruction, that's totally fine. If you give them zombie world, they might not even want to use it anyways. Or you can give them solar recharge, charge upgrade, and they're again not going to be able to use this. I also considered potentially thinking about running cards like Level Eater, just so you can use it for like extra alert darkness target. Maybe that could be an option too. But it's kind of interesting to see like the idea of incorporating Zombie World in a wind-up deck. It seems strange, but like I said, in that scenario, they couldn't be spellcasters because Zombie World makes everything in the graveyard become zombies and on the field. But anyways, let's go ahead and go over the deck profile. For those of you guys that do want to try it out, I want to say that this is a really innovative deck. Again, it was basically just showcasing off the new windups, but again, I like the idea of just incorporating something new. I just like when people are innovative with this game. But anyways, triple copies of Grand Golem. We got 2 copies of Wolf, Light Sworn Beast. This and Felice are basically just extra cards you can technically be using. However, one suggestion I want to give you, unless you're running Felice for the reason of being a tuner, I would run 3 copies of Wolf, because Wolf gets its effect whenever it is sent from your deck to the graveyard, while Felice only gets its effect when it's sent to the deck to the graveyard by a monster effect. So keep that in mind. Just a quick suggestion, unless of course you want it to run it because it's a tuner, but I would just suggest running the other card anyways. But that's my thoughts on it. Anyways, 2 copies of Wolf, 3 copies of Mizuki. This is what's gonna make it like the wind-up zombies, because everything becomes zombies. And then after the 3 copies of Mizuki, we have 3 copies of Wind-Up Shark. So I guess I can briefly explain some of the wind-ups, because it might be a newer archetype for some of the players that didn't play. Back when this deck was like one of the most popular decks, actually arguably one of the best decks at the time because of the wind-up loop. Now, we did see Wind-Up Hunter snipe out a bunch of cards out of the opponent's hand. That's basically what it came down to. You would do this thing called the wind-up loop. You could theoretically, if you had Pot of Avarice, hit multiple cards out of your opponent's hand, and then you could technically get rid of all of them, but it was kind of difficult to do. But the thing is that Wind-Up Hunter is just so annoying to deal with, because when you took out like 3 cards out of your opponent's hand and then you were like, oh yo, I gotta Tri-Gate Wizard, like you just basically lose. Now in this instance that we saw in the replay, he didn't have it co-linked, so it didn't have that effect to negate anything. But at the same time, it is technically possible to do if you just believe in the heart of the cards. We got that Burial from Different Dimensions. This card can be really nasty, especially if you get to use it and get multiple Mizukis back into the grave, therefore getting multiple free extra special summons. Another card I can consider maybe like Book of Life, if you really wanted to try to push things to go a little bit further. You could try that out also as well. But I think the thing with Book of Life, obviously you don't need Zombie World as much, but you do technically need to banish something out of your opponent's graveyard, and they might not have something turn 1 to get rid of, so keep that in mind as well, if you decide to play that card. But anyways, Wind-Up Shark, important thing. So when a Wind-Up monster is normal or special summon, you get to special summon this card from your hand, and then you can increase the level of this card or reduce the level of this card. It's basically used for Exceeds, although we're not really playing anything with Sandmanes in here, so I don't know how relevant that is. But next up, we have 2 copies of Felice the Lightsworn Archer, 2 copies of Wind-Up Magician. So if the effect of a Wind-Up monster is activated, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower wind-up monster from your deck in defense position. That can be a lot of the well, that can be basically everything. There's really no like limits in this deck because we're not playing any of the high level stuff. In fact, I don't think anyone really did play any of the high level wind-ups to my knowledge. But anyways, next up we have Wind-Up Hunter. So you contribute 1 face-up wind-up monster except for itself to send 1 random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard. This effect can only use once while this card is face-up on the field. That meaning itself, so you can basically get rid of if this guy goes away, which you can use it for like a link summon, therefore you can activate its effect again from another copy of it, or I guess if you're getting like another one from the graveyard. Next up, another really important card for the archetype is Wind-Up Rat. So during your main phase, you can target 1 wind-up monster in your graveyard, change this attack position card you control to face-up defense position, and then special summon that target. This card can get you this card. Well, I mean, because you're able to send cards to the graveyard via like Solar Recharge, Charge Life Upgrade, and also cycling through your cards with Scoldy, and then also having Firewall Dragon as a co-link, or it has the 4 links. Link of 4 works really well with the Akashic Magician, so once per you just are able to declare 1 card name, excavate cards, and then if you excavate that card that you declare a name, and then Basically, you're going to be sending some cards to the graveyard, and if you excavate the declared card, you get to add it to your hand, and the rest go to the graveyard. At some points, I think we saw Zombie World called whatever like cards that you haven't seen you're playing multiple copies of. You can definitely go for that, or if you're really looking for that soul charge, go for that as well. But anyways, yeah, really good stuff to get some extra free advantage. And then what were we at? 3 wind-up hunters, 3 copies of Rat, 3 copies of Soul to Recharge, 3 copies of Magical Contract Door. Again, even though you're giving your opponent a spell card, you just give them something that's completely irrelevant, or like, for example, Hand Destruction, the Zombie World, Soul Recharge. They might not be able to use like a lot of these cards. Obviously, you don't give them like any of these. But anyways, next up, we got 1 copy of Soul Charge, 1 copy of Foolish Burial, 3 copies of Charge Light Upgrade, 2 copies of Burrow from a Different Dimension, 3 copies of Hand Destruction to make the deck go extra fast, and 3 copies of Zombie World. As far as the extra goes, I don't really think we need Zenmaines. Zenmaines is outclassed these days. We have 2 copies of Skulldie, 3 Firewall Dragon, 1 Tri-Gate Wizard, 1 Wind-Up Maintain Zenmaicon, which opens up the doors for a lot of the plays. We also did see where you are able to, well, I guess I should go over its full effect. So anyways, as soon as it gets Link Summoned, you get to add a Wind-Up. And then you can banish 1 face-up wind-up monster you control face down to summon 1 monster with the same name from your deck, which can actually be good. I'm sure some people are like, why would you get rid of one to summon like another one? The thing is, you can cycle through the cards, and on top of that, you're able to proc certain effects, whether it's like activating a wind-ups effect or special summoning a monster. And then on top of that, if this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you get to target a wind-up monster, 1 wind-up exceed monster you control, and attach it to it as material. I just don't, again, find it to be that viable with Zenmaines, but nonetheless, it is technically another effect. But pretty much you only need, I don't know, if you wanted to make it more wind-up oriented, you could play multiple copies of it. But I feel like this day and age in Yu-Gi-Oh!, everything needs to be like turn 1 oriented. And when you're running basically 6 copies of Grindr Golem, that's a very turn 1 oriented deck where it opens up with these plays where you're like Firewall Dragon, Skulldie, and you just cycle through too many things. And again, with Wind-Up Hunter, when you make your opponent go like neg 2 or 3 and then throw a Tri-Gate Wizard, it's difficult for a lot of decks with the exception of having Raigeki, which of course Tri-Gate Wizard can stop if it is co-linked properly. It's game over, man. But anyways, next up we got the Agashik Magician, we got the Proxy Dragon, we got the Security Dragon, Link Spider, and of course Link Raven. This is basically just used as stepping stones, so of course go for the Skulldie combo to cycle through your cards. We're really looking for that Soul Charge, as you guys saw from the replays. I mean, it would be like the same thing if I just showed you guys more. But for the most part, you're cycling through cards as quickly as possible. And if you open up Grindr Golem, you're going to have a good time. If you don't open up Grindr Golem, you could have to try to stall a little bit. And this deck probably can't do it too well considering there is no back row. It's a very aggressive turn 1 deck. Again, really cool to see Zombie World. I'm not sure if I would personally play it myself, but again, the whole point was to basically show you guys like getting rid of cards in the opponent's hand and all, obviously using the new wind-up maintenance and Zenmaicon. But let me know, guys, what you thought of it. If you guys were making any changes, let me know also down below in the comment section below. But shout out to Teriyaki, build a really interesting and innovative deck. I would have said this is an OCG deck, and I like that kind of stuff. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like on it, and if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button for more Yu-Gi-Oh content.